Okay, viewers, this is Dr. James VONDUTCH speaking, and right now I'm at the Coventry Transport Museum in Coventry City Centre, next to the Poomeadow bus station and Sainsbury's, and also Nisa 24/7 retail shop. And whilst I'm at the Coventry Transport Museum, I should mention today is Friday the 30th of January 2026. And I was reading some news articles in the news yesterday overnight on RT News, in particular RT Business News, and there was an article there relating to the poverty in UK, and there's extreme poverty confirmed in that report, and it mentions that there are nearly 7 million people in the UK experiencing extreme hardship, the highest number ever in the UK, and it also mentions in the report from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation that it's the experiencing of poverty and the rising cost of living and the lowering of the living standards has been the greatest ever impact in the UK, and in particular in cities like London and in areas like the West Midlands. And obviously Coventry is in that area, West Midlands area of England, UK. And I can vouch for that, about the extreme poverty. I myself has lost my car, my second-hand car, my Peugeot 207 Estate that I used to drive. It failed the MOT in May 2025 last year, unfortunately, and I couldn't afford to repair it, get the faults repaired, and I had to unfortunately depart with it, and sadly it was scrapped or sold for scrap. So I've been without a car since that length of time, almost, and it's been horrendous. Obviously, that's just proof of the pudding. So I'm vouching for those reports in the news that the UK is experiencing extreme poverty, and like I said, up to nearly 7 million people facing extreme hardship. And also, I need to mention that my council house, my family council house, that was seized back on the 26th of April 2023, and that was by Coventry County Court orders on behalf of Citizen Housing Group. So they seized my house. So I'm without a council house as well, and I'm only in supported housing in one bedroom, whereas before I had a three-bedroom house all to myself. That was a Coventry family house. My late mother's house. That was my grandmother, who was a late mother and died sadly last year as well in her care home when she's being held captive. She died in 4th of January 2025. So that's the sad news. Her house was obviously taken away, and she was the main tenant of that house, and I lived there. So obviously they served orders on me as well, and even though I was caretaker there, so I'm without a council house, and I'm also without a car. So that's proof of the pudding. And obviously before that, in 2016, my kids were taken off me. I was removed from them, and I was turned into internally displaced absent person there from them, and I wasn't allowed to raise them. So that's 2016, and I was rendered into imprisonment by the direct action orders of the Coventry Family Court at the time. And I just naively went back to the house to collect some valuable items and check up on my kids. And I ended up in a 3-year hellhole prison sentence. That was horrendous. And I didn't really need to serve that. I could have easily kept me at home, uh, put restrictions on my movements, for instance, like they did with COVID. And it would have been much cheaper and a lot less harmful to me. And I wouldn't have got assaulted either, like I got assaulted in prison. A horrendous ordeal. 18 months in prison and 18 months probation. That's the full 3-year sentence I served. So that's more time than Boris Becker, the German tennis player, spent in UK prisons, and Stacey Keach, the American actor, served in UK prisons put together. I served more time than them in UK prisons than them. Just for simply going back to see my kids, and collecting a few items. And obviously my partner at the time, my ex-partner, turned kind of nasty and erupted like a volcano and just picked up the phone and dialed 999 police assist. And there you have it. The next thing, I was in imprisonment and in a 3-year sentence, a hellhole sentence. So when I left there, I was told I could live at my mother's house, a grandmother, a council house, and that's where I lived until after COVID. They changed the rules. They captured her, took her away over an incident over the care workers there that were bringing meals sometimes, and sometimes just helping sisters just briefly. A new inexperienced care worker turned up and she wasn't really familiar with that, and there's an incident there. She's reported, and then next thing you know, NHS officials, an NHS official and a social worker just took her away, and first they kept her out of hospitals and they transferred her to care homes and never brought her back, and that's what jeopardised my stay there at the home on Vine Street in Coventry, and ultimately led to my eviction as well. And in fact, mother or grandmother was taken out of the house on the 24th of November 2021, and exactly 3 months down the line, the current crisis in Ukraine escalated as well. So that's in March the 24th, March the 24th, 2022, and when activities there escalated, and they never returned Granny back, you see, to the house, a council house. They seized the house literally, and served her notice to quit because she was obviously in care homes, being held captive there. And I had nowhere else to go to, no place of abode to turn to. So where could I go? Obviously, they were giving me the orders to get out of there as well. So I had to sleep rough in my car for plus 13 months as a horrendous ordeal, a nightmare almost, before I was eventually discovered by the JCT, the Jesus Centre outreach homeless workers. I think it was one Romanian outreach worker and two or three local women who also were there, and they filmed me as well when they see me, spotted me in the car sleeping rough, and then offered me supported housing ever since, which isn't actually my place. It's not bidding place actually on the Coventry Home Finder. It's just supported housing, a bedroom to myself. Whereas I had a 3-bedroom house to myself, entirely to myself. That was front and rear gardens, five rooms in the house, excluding the bathroom, washroom, and the kitchen. So that would have been 7 rooms if you can't count those. And I had that to myself, and look where I am now. And so obviously poverty has affected me considerably since then, and obviously it's the previous governments to blame as well. So I can't let them off the hook. I can't just say it's the Labour Party's fault, but it hasn't gone better with the Labour Party either. I've gone worse. Obviously, I've lost my car during the Labour Party administration. That's the Keir Starmer administration. So that's what's gone worse for me in particular. I've got to let my viewers know. So I used to have a second-hand banger, like I said, a Peugeot 207 SW estate. So I've lost that because it failed MOT and I couldn't afford to get it repaired, sadly, and I had to part with that. I had to sell it for scrap, and I didn't get much for it either. And then before that, obviously, it was a Conservative government, and Rishi Sunak at the time, and obviously, that was horrendous. I don't think, really speaking, Boris Johnson should have resigned. I think that's where things started to go bad. That's where things, and even Liz Truss, I don't think she should have resigned either. And I think when Rishi Sunak was there, literally we were in a third world country overnight. By the time he was there, it was almost too late. I think the reason why they put him there is to put the blame on someone else, and I don't know what they're playing at there. Maybe take it out on the immigrant community or something. Put him there at the top so that they can take the blame on him, take it out on him or something. But he was a multi-millionaire many times over, one of the richest PMs ever, and he didn't give me anything, by the way. I don't think he would anyway, but the amount of money he's been quoted as having with his wife, that is, not just hundreds of millions, almost $1 billion US. That's his net quote, celebrity or otherwise. And obviously, I didn't get any favoritism from him, put it that way. And not until right towards the end, towards the election, general election, and I think it was political, a month or two at the most. I'd say about a month anyway, easily a month before the general election. Then I was offered a supported housing. That's when I was actually discovered. So he never won the election anyway. He lost the election to the Labour leader there, Keir Starmer, who's the current incumbent PM, and he's obviously been to China as well. And that's where the cheap goods are made, in fact. So that's good for business. Virtually everything these days is made in China. You pick up your clothes, your electrical goods, your mobile phones, accessories, etc. They're almost certainly likely to be made in China. So that's a big country there in terms of produce and imports from there, obviously. Cheap imports, affordable imports, that's, I should mention, which is within the buying power of most people. I don't think the other ones are that affordable. I mean, you can't, for instance, buy Canadian Goose jackets. You're talking at least £1,000, ain't it? Whereas these ones, the one I'm wearing, that's probably just a fiver, £5 from Primark or something. Made in the Far East somewhere, probably. If it's not made in China, it's probably made in Cambodia or somewhere like that. So anyway, that's the news. So impoverished state we're living in, definitely, and people are relying on the Far Eastern countries in particular. Their produce, their imports, the cheap value goods that that they're selling. Even the cars, like I said, I can't afford any of them at the moment, and it's been terrible news, and I have to report that. Even with my social media video filmmaking, I can't even afford a camper van, not even a shaggy van, the people's carrier. So that's me, proof of the pudding, innit? Of the sign of the time. So a reflection of poverty is me. So when you're watching me, what have I got? My assets, take a look at my assets. Isn't that a clue to what's going on in the economy? What's worthy of appraisal with me? You tell me. I mean, I'm putting my videos up. What am I being rewarded with? You tell me. And there's even adverts there for cars, 50% off, etc. And I did try to get one of those cars, but obviously I was refused finance because I wasn't on enough income. I'm on an extremely low income, just barely enough to survive, pay for my food bills. That's about it. And I don't really have much left over. I'm struggling at the moment. So I have put up my appeal, and I have asked people to help me equalise by generously donating to me any amount of their spare money if they can. And I do put up my bank details. So that hasn't changed. So that's the sad news anyway. And the thing about the Ukraine crisis, I think that's just being prolonged for not only for military equipment sales, etc. Just want to get their equipment, don't they? The military want to sell their equipment. That's all it is, and they're just slaughtering each other there, obviously. But there has been a ceasefire announced, which is good news, obviously. But I think the freezing cold weather is going to kill a lot of people over there in the Ukraine. I think that'll do more damage since obviously the ceasefire has been announced, partial ceasefire or otherwise. Maybe they're not going to bomb them anymore in Ukraine for a week or something like that. That's what's in the news. But other than that, good news, slight bit of good news for those people there. Obviously, the cold weather is very bad news for them. So they've got that enemy to think about, the cold weather. And on both sides, of course, not just Ukraine, they've got to worry about the weather there. And obviously, it's a very bad time for homeless people in the UK as well at this time of the year, freezing temperatures. So you obviously need shelter, and Shelter's out, by the way, that movie. But I'm waiting to look forward to the movie, Food and Shelter, the sequel, and the sequel after that, even Food and Shelter and Clothing. I'll be really keen to look at those sequel movies. Obviously, I won't be looking at that just the Shelter movie, but when those movies come out, the sequels. Dr. James VONDUTCH at the Coventry Transport Museum on 30th of January 2026.